Now what you're following, that's idolatry, that's just fake. And all that wallowing that you tolerate, that's not faith. The kings of colony watched autonomy make our graves. The kings of colony know no policy, only rape. Now once you fall asleep, it won't bother you what they say. But the kings of colony, while they slaughter, they still complain. We say, please color me, still too solemnly, still too plain. All hail economy, praise the pharmacy, seas in flames. They're buying up Hawaii, and the smoke's not even cleared. Those vultures smelled the fire and an enterprise appeared. Investment opportunities where melted down communities leave vacant space BlackRock has been lusting for years. The council meets in private and they don't discuss survivors. Concerns among construction groups are all Lahaina hears. They'll wander through your city with this mocking sword of pity next to Oprah and her camera crew who tore the Trail of Tears, where footage flows as freely as the stream of liquid steel and the pools of pure aluminum that trickle down your wheels. And Biden's here to say he knows exactly how it feels, cause he had a kitchen fire once and had to miss a meal. And people still believe that piece of shit deserves your vote, like he's not why supplies are being smuggled in by boat, like he's not why our citizens were forced to stay and roast. And he can't unfreeze your funding, folks, cause Azov needs it most. I'll bet my every dollar Biden watched it with a smile. I'll bet he knows the whereabouts of every missing child. He's just the kind of man who lives to trample something tribal, collecting culture's corpses just to throw them on the pile. Like he and all his buddies didn't dream about the day when those who dared defy the donor class were cleared away, when home insurance triples and you can't afford to stay, and your land falls to the hands of those whose windfall fan the flames. The state will take Lahaina and they'll bastardize its name, and tourism will swarm it all the same. You see, the state we left Lahaina shows the ground rules of the game, the planes that in the night ignite the planes. And if questions raised that reckon the potential use of lasers, I suggest you take a closer shave by way of Occam's razor. And if those civilians stood between this country and its gains, then there's really nothing further to explain. Because you may know this already, if you truly know our past, but it ain't the first occasion and it will not be the last where Americans are kettled in and made to bear the blast, are barricaded in and left for ash. How many in Lahaina now are lying there awake and still can hear the city we left leveled in our wake? They still hear all the people that we let the fire take, instructed from above to stay in place. So look to the horizon, cause a fire comes for you. Desire made incarnate of the power-hungry few who instructed the police to not let anybody through, to barricade them in, and so they do.
Hello and good evening. Welcome one and all to a very special late evening edition of Hard Lens Media. We rarely do this, but I do want to welcome all of you lovely, beautiful people for joining me, because this has to deal with my own backyard, the city of Chicago, as there's some breaking news, and there's a lot to really unpack with it, especially in regards towards the overall devastating conflict that's taking place in Gaza. As we all know, there is a horrific conflict that's taking place that is taking the lives of many men, women, and children. We have seen all the imagery on social media in which lives are needlessly being exterminated and destroyed because of this ridiculous, horrific war. Now, the death toll has risen past beyond 25,000. And as I've said, not only on the Hardlands Media YouTube page, but also on our Rumble account, that pretty soon, don't be surprised if we see the death toll reach at 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, dare I say it, 50,000, 100,000. And this is something that I have said before is laying only the foundations for the next horrific conflict that lies in wait. So for those of you who are joining us, we thank you very much. Please be sure to hit that like button. So let's talk about what is going on in the city of Chicago, especially as we are now witnessing what is something that is really unheard of for a major metropolitan city. And even while I do respect the significance of it, it's a double-edged sword. So first, I want to bring this up here. First of all, we were tagged in this recently in the afternoon. I'm happy to announce that the city of Chicago passed the Uniting for Peace ceasefire resolution in a dramatic brawl over the last few weeks. The vote came down to 23 yes, 23 no, with the city of Chicago's mayor, who just endorsed the resolution, broke the tie vote with a yes in it, tagging Jimmy Dore, The Miserable Liberal, Jose, Do Dissidents, Hardlands Media, Peace for Humanity, 21 Wire, No to NATO, No to War, George Galloway, People's Party USA, Rage Against the War Machine, and Misty Sarcasm Stardust. So thank you so much, Anastasia Battle, a LaRouche organizer who has, again, tagged us in this. So what exactly is going on? Well, first, I want to bring up two highlight videos from both perspectives. First of all, from Chicago Alderwoman Rosanna of the 33rd Ward, who introduced the ceasefire resolution, explains her solidarity with the Palestinian people. So I want to bring this up here for all you people to see firsthand.
I am Puerto Rican. I lived under colonialism. I had to do civil disobedience in Vieques to prevent 9,000 people from continuing to be bombed by the U.S. Navy. But we also went through Hurricane Maria. We saw the bodies piling up because of lack of water. We are the colony of the most powerful country in the world with the most powerful army in the world. And they let 5,000 people die of preventable causes. We saw the bodies piling up, and there was no space because there was so many. And we still had to go to work every day, knowing that people were dying. People died because there was no electricity, and they couldn't do dialysis, blood transfusions. And we had to show up every day in our lives knowing that people were dying every day and that we couldn't do anything about it. And I see the Palestinian community facing that every single day and knowing that today more people are going to die and that tomorrow more people are going to die. And people are going to continue to die until a ceasefire is achieved. And the only way to achieve that is to demonstrate consensus in this country.
On the one hand, I agree with her. On the other hand, you are part of the Democratic Party. Now, Biden and his administration have made it abundantly clear that they are not going to lift a finger. That goes for Bernie Sanders, that goes for AOC, that goes for the entire Congressional Progressive Caucus because of money in politics. As I've said before, big oil, the corporations, the presidential complex, AIPAC, they all buy and sell our politicians. They all own our politicians. More solidarity will need to be seen here. But the Democratic leadership, the establishment leadership, especially the higher echelon leadership, don't give a damn. They could have stopped this months ago. Hell, they could have called a ceasefire long ago, but they chose not to. Now, I am impressed that my city has led the forefront on this, but there are many problems in Chicago as well, which I will get to at the end of this segment. But when it comes down to this conflict in Gaza, many a times there could have been numerous chances in which our politicians, both Democrat and Republican, could have really taken the initiative to bring in a true peace in the Middle East. I know it's a controversial statement to say, but they chose not to because of money, the almighty dollar. And this is something many Americans are going to have to come to terms with. And I don't want to dismiss this victory because it's a significant victory. A lot of protesters and activists went there and made their voices heard. But now's not the time to celebrate. The fight is still ongoing. I want to pull up another video with another perspective, in which, again, we have to hear all sides of the aisle. I think that's important as we do commentary and political analysis for this show. So let's hear this other side of the story.
I mean, okay, here it is, just handed a resolution at 10:30. Yes, I was emailed it at 5:30 last night, 5:36 actually. I didn't see it. I'm sorry. I have a busy life. Things have been crazy. I guess maybe I should just check my email every 5 minutes. So I guess shame on me for not checking my emails every 5 minutes. So just handed this basically hours ago. We need to release the hostages, people. I mean, that's an important thing. I mean, you know, say what you want. Unfortunately, I don't believe there's any hostages left. It's a terrible thing to say. I don't know if there's, I mean.
So this is a few short seconds of that segment. But when it comes down to the conflict in Gaza, we know the hostages are still there. We have covered on Hard Lens Media how the families of the hostages have stormed the parliament in Israel and how they've confronted Israeli politicians. What people are forgetting, especially what I find shocking, especially from the article from the New York Times in which Israeli intelligence was informed that this attack was going to be happening a year ago. I mean, you have a year to prep, you have a year to stop it. You could have done something, but they chose not to. And again, I have to once again reference when Charlie Kirk said, well, was a ceasefire or stand down order given to the people who were manning their posts? Why was this allowed to happen? Who was being lazy on the job? Now, perhaps maybe it was one of those rare moments in human history where people just let their guard down. But how can you not see this haymaker coming? I mean, you have large concrete walls, watchtowers, barbed wire fences, security cameras, intelligence services. It's the world's most one-sided fist fight. Gaza is an open-air prison. To allow this to happen, or to see it happen, or even the idea of it to happening in the first place, people should have been more aware and on point. And there was a time before October 7th, what many people will one day look back to and reference to is that good old Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had a lot of domestic issues impacting his government. What people are going to be forgetting, and hopefully they soon someday get their memories back, is how much of a piss poor job he was doing as a leader of his country. But what's a better distraction than doing a old wag dog moment? So I want to pull up the tie-breaking vote in which Mayor Brandon Johnson was the one to make it happen.
For this resolution, a motion, even though there is no tie. So I will exercise my vote and my right. I vote aye. Yeah!
Who am I to deny a victory? People should be happy. Perhaps maybe this is the change that is needed to happen. I want to pull up this video of the celebration within the city hall that was outside of the major chamber. People should savor this moment. However, let's talk about what's going to happen tomorrow. IDF troops occupy burned Gaza homes in likely war crimes. Israeli troops invading the Gaza Strip are occupying, then burning Palestinian homes there. Apparent war crimes that follow, literally incendiary calls from some Israeli leaders to burn Gaza, actions and words under consideration in the South African-led genocide case before the International Court of Justice. Israeli newspaper Harzet reported Wednesday that IDF soldiers have burned hundreds of Gaza homes and everything in them on direct orders from their commanders. Okay. This is where leadership from our government, especially at the federal level, should be needed. Some Israeli troops have posted videos on social media showing them taking part in home burnings and describing their actions as revenge for fellow soldiers' death or the October 7th Hamas-led attacks on Israel. Israeli forces have also occupied homes, according to the newspaper. In one case, soldiers spared a home so that other IDF troops can use it, leaving a note reading, "We are not burning the house so you can enjoy it, and when you leave, you'll know what to do." Let's see, Israeli soldiers playing chess after burning a Palestinian house in Gaza. I'm not going to play that video. An analysis reviewed by the BBC found at least half of all the buildings in Gaza, between 144,000 to 175 structures, have been destroyed or damaged by Israeli forces since October 7th. This has been a major factor in the displacement of what the United Nations says is more than 90% of Gaza's 2.3 million people, and has promoted debate by experts over whether Israel's committing domicide or systematic destruction of homes with the objective of rendering Gaza uninhabitable. Well, when you have 70% to 80% of the entire region being bombed out and destroyed, when you have refugee centers being destroyed, when you have community centers being destroyed, when you have hospitals being destroyed, when you have universities being destroyed, when you have marketplaces being destroyed and nowhere else for the people to go, yeah, I think it's safe to say that, yes, what the IDF is doing is making all of Gaza uninhabitable. This is a genocide. And what my city has done, especially with the mayor doing the tie-breaking vote, is very historic, but it won't mean anything until Washington, D.C. decides to lift a finger. War crimes are taking place, and a vote in a major metropolitan city, while it is historic, more power comes from the office of the presidency, to which Joe Biden has yet to do a single thing. But however, as I've covered on the show earlier this morning, Kamala Harris and the Democrats are doing everything they can to dismiss pro-Palestinian supporters, especially amongst the Arab and Muslim community. Case in point, when two Muslim women were trying to attend a Kamala Harris event, it's quite clear that they were singled out. Why? It's probably because Kamala didn't want to be embarrassed in Las Vegas, but I do find it interesting that a Democratic event would profile people, at least from what I've seen on corporate media or from the Vote Blue, no matter who sycophants. They would easily say, oh, you can't profile people. That's what Trump supporters do. Well, the Democrats are doing that, which once again leads to my proof that the Democratic Party are nothing but hypocrites. I also want to pull up this article here from RT just to trigger the liberals. U.S. troops told to prepare for war in Gaza. Great, folks. So if it's not only Ukraine and Yemen and Gaza and Iran and anywhere else, now it looks like we're going to be part of it too. U.S. Air Force personnel in Iraq have been ordered to remain on standby in case of on-ground U.S. involvement in the Israeli-Hamas war. Congratulations, folks. Out of the frying pan and into the fire. The Intercept reported on Tuesday, signing a Pentagon memo. Circulating earlier this month, the memo instructs an unknown number of troops to be placed on standby to forward deploy to support troops in the case of an on-ground U.S. involvement in the Israel-Hamas war. The news site reported the standby order applies to troops stationed in Iraq since last year, according to a separate Pentagon document seen by The Intercept. The Pentagon did not respond to requests for comment. The White House has stated on several occasions since October that its support for the Jewish state would not involve American soldiers fighting alongside their Israeli counterparts. The U.S. responded to Hamas' October 7th attack on Israel by immediately dispatching 2 aircraft carriers to the region and preparing 2,000 additional troops for deployment in the Middle East. But the White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby told reporters on October 10th that there is no intention to put U.S. boots on the ground in Israel or Gaza. However, U.S. Special Forces have been active in Israel since October, with senior official Christopher Mayer telling reporters at the time that American commandos were actively helping Israelis to do a number of things. The Pentagon also admitted to flying spy drones over Gaza in support of hostage recovery efforts. We ever going to do anything to get those hostages out? Yeah, probably not. But don't worry. The administration is doing everything it can to dismiss the fact that commandos dressed up as women and doctors and went inside a hospital to pop a couple of people, right? Not like that's a war crime. American ships and warplanes have also launched several strikes against Houthi militants in Yemen and in a bid to break the Houthi blockade on Israeli-linked merchant shipping passing through the Red Sea. The Houthis have responded by targeting U.S. commercial and military vessels in the area. On Wednesday, the militants announced that they have fired multiple missiles at a destroyer, the U.S. Gravely. So, say it with me, folks, especially for the people in the back. What could possibly go wrong? So I want to talk about overall the crisis in Gaza and also what my city has done. It is rather historic that a major metropolitan city with a tie-breaking vote from the mayor would set this action in motion. However, for those of you who don't know, the DNC convention is going to be happening here in Chicago. And while this is a historic event, there are many problems in Chicago. And with the aftermath of this tie-breaking vote, there are the ongoing lingering issues in this city, such as crime, violence, political corruption, police corruption, crumbling infrastructure, and so much more. I am rather concerned of the overall powder keg that will be preparing to blow up. Perhaps I'm overthinking it. Perhaps I'm wrong. Or perhaps I'm correct. Chicago, as history has shown, is a major hub for the Democratic Party, but it's not this communist utopia that Fox News would promote. It is a corporatist neoliberal nightmare. And I can't stress that out enough. And with the DNC convention happening here in this city, it is abundantly clear that emotions will be rising up high, not only with the migrant crisis, but also with many other political issues impacting the city that have been existing long before somebody like Donald Trump ever came into power. The problem has not passed away. And while we are going to be going into the next day tomorrow, which will be Thursday, the first day of February, the second month of the new year, the bombs will still be dropping in Gaza. People will still be dying in Gaza. The war will still be ongoing. And nothing's going to fundamentally change until we see our leadership actually step up and do the right thing. But that goes for all the conflicts in Ukraine, the conflict in Yemen. Hopefully there won't be a conflict with Iran, but knowing the military-industrial complex, hey, they're just foaming at the mouth, just like that, just waiting to let that happen. I do hope that cooler heads do prevail, that maybe this is the stepping stone, the pathway to peace. But then again, war is eternal. And even if there is a ceasefire, the next war is somewhere down the road. To the people who are celebrating for the ceasefire, what the city of Chicago has done, yes, you should celebrate. But then you must continue on the vigil. This war won't stop until our leaders, people like Biden specifically, say enough. Because last I checked, he is in charge of a global superpower. And we have to be ready. I do encourage all of you, especially as we enter into this election cycle, to really take into account how you do plan to vote. I encourage my voting audience to vote independent and vote third party. Do not participate with the two-party system because the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, both parties do not like you, they don't think about you, and they don't respect you. Now's the time for all of us to be self-aware and to be aware of our surroundings. And maybe someday, not today, but someday, we'll have a better future. With that being said, I do want to thank all of you so much for joining me for this late evening live stream. I want to give a shout out to all of you joining us. Out in left field, no, the DNC convention is still ongoing. But I have my personal belief that it's going to be a powder keg that's ready to blow up. Maybe it won't be on the 1968 level, but who knows? There's a lot of people out there that want to protest the DNC convention. There's a lot of factions and groups that are clearly upset with the Democratic Party, and rightfully so. Let's see what else we got here. Who else do we got here? Shout out to our moderators that are joining us. Dwayne Vogel, thank you so much. We got Natalie Williams, thank you so much. Miss Witchy, perfect. Good to see you as well. Who else we got here? Harold Dogbottom, good to see you. Team Orca, good to see you. Who else we got here? Buds Not Bombs, good to see you. We got Lyle Gentleman, good to see you. Thank you so much. And who do we got here in the Rumble chat? Carrie Pay, good to see you. Sherry Wise, good to see you. Afro-Rican on Rumble, all of you people, good to see you. Yes, we are only live on YouTube and Rumble right now. Who else we got here? Harold Dogbottom, good to see you. Ryan Clark, good to see you. Let's see, Dr. Nick. Hey, everybody. Hi, Dr. Nick. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Be sure to hit that like button. Miss Witchy, perfect. Good to see you as well. And let's see who else we got here. Lawrence Johnson, take the official Chicago 1968 tour. Yes. I hope it doesn't come to that. I will say this. We here at Hard Lens Media are laying the foundations to cover the DNC convention. And yes, to all the groups that will be protesting or attending the DNC convention in the city of Chicago, we are more than willing to interview you guys and gals. I am setting up an Avengers team, and we'll be setting up the means necessary so that we can have the proper gear and equipment to cover the Democratic convention in 2024. It will be coming here in August, so more on that later. It will be getting set up very soon, so if you can, we'll be sure to give up updates very soon in regards towards what we can and will be able to do for the DNC convention. So be sure to follow Hard Lens Media on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Rumble, on our Rockfin page, on our Odyssey page, and yes, even on Kick and Patreon as well. So more on that very soon. So please stay tuned because we will be covering that convention and so much more with it. So there you go. Everyone else that's tuning in, thank you so much for supporting Hard Lens Media. To all the activists and organizers that were there protesting in City Hall to demand a ceasefire, congratulations on your victory. But tomorrow's a new day. Yes, you should celebrate, but the fight is still ongoing. Until our leaders actually say enough, the horror of war is still ongoing. And here's hoping for peace, as it should be. With that being said, I'll see all of you sharp in the morning tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central, on YouTube, Rumble, Rockfin, Odyssey, and Kick. If you don't got to get it, if you don't get it, go figure it out. That's when we go live every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Central in the morning. Chicago's fastest growing independent media network, Hard Lens Media. Keep your heads on a swivel, my lovelies, my mornings, my sunshines. We got music by Jesse Jett. We started off with Jesse Jett singing, and we're going to end it with Jesse Jett singing. So until then, please take good care of yourselves and each other. Thank you so much for joining me for this late evening live stream. There'll probably be more of these in the future, especially as the 2024 election cycle intensifies. Until then, take good care of yourselves and each other. My name is Kit Cabello, and I'll see you sharp in the morning tomorrow. Take good care of yourselves, and maybe someday, not today, there will be peace. Wouldn't that be a sight?
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days and to still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to save. And when they told you everything was safe, Were you safe? Were you safe? Were you safe? Were you safe? I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe? Were you safe? Were you safe? Were you safe?
Fresh off the mass is the brand new cancerous growth who has come here to vie for your vote. Come here to cry at the camps and to mourn at the shore for the bodies that float by the wreck of an immigrant boat. Then it's back to their luxury home, couple security booths and a moat. Couple cigars, little escargot, little booze and a soak. Just breathe in the steam and the smoke. Pink salt, lavender, candles are low. Shit, when you do what you do, gotta lighten the load. And he got a life of his own that's a sight to behold. And it's a lot to control, to decipher the code, or to siphon the soul. The cost of a good night's sleep for the working elite is a bargain, no matter the toll. Worth any wager, and that comes straight from the mouth of the means to the goal that will swallow us whole. Right through the picking if you don't mind mold, and you know I don't. Maybe we're pleasantly prone, maybe we're taking a licking, compliantly ticking and ticking and ticking, but never explode. No, I don't deliver the prettiest image, but damn if it isn't an accurate vision of natural fission, of rage at the system and abject heartbreak, patiently waiting for any who will listen. That little blue bird who was watching your words is a federal carrier pigeon, a Langley first. It's a patient observer who hears what it wants and is trained for the worst. Oh, you got nothing to hide. They'll be the ones to decide that after they root through your purse, after they read all your text, after they raid your apartment, confiscate all of its contents, then conjure up evidence out of the air on a wing and a prayer and malicious intelligence nonsense. Any presumption of innocence long since gone, right along with your comforts and constants. Historically first they will come for the communists. So why in the fuck would I say I'm a communist? Well, it might be I love my community more than the monsters of opulence who are holding us hostage, who are vomiting promises. Might be I'm all done seeing our pensions and benefits harvested. Might be I'm all done watching the populace being disarmed in the guise of an armistice. Watching a woman collapse on the floor who will rise no more. She's wheeled out the door and you're next in line for the pharmacist. If you can get me to vote, it's a hard no confidence. But part of the charm of deception is politics wearing the mask of incompetence. It's all in the art of austerity, darling. It's all in the slide of the providence. Until home is as wide as your cubicle height and is only as deep as your coffin is. Maybe I'm miles away from impatience, aching to break off the head of the snake where the capital lust, reptile brain, and the margin of profit is. Like off with his. Like off with his.
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to save. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe?